Picture this: a quiet London office in 1942, where a mild-mannered newspaper crossword editor receives a mysterious telegram that would change the course of World War II forever. The message is simple yet cryptic. Your country needs your puzzle-solving mind. What happened next reveals one of the most fascinating and secretive recruitment programs in military history, where the ability to solve a daily crossword puzzle became the key to unlocking enemy secrets and ultimately helping to win the war. Today, we're diving deep into the extraordinary story of how Britain's intelligence services discovered that crossword enthusiasts possessed exactly the kind of minds needed to break the most complex enemy codes. This isn't just another war story about tanks and battles. This is about how everyday puzzle lovers sitting in their armchairs with a cup of tea and a pencil became some of the most valuable weapons in the Allied arsenal. The year was 1941, and Britain was facing its darkest hour. German U-boats were decimating Allied shipping in the Atlantic. Nazi forces seemed unstoppable across Europe, and the outcome of the war hung in the balance. But deep in the English countryside, at a Victorian mansion called Bletchley Park, a desperate search was underway for a very specific type of person. Not soldiers, not generals, not even traditional spies. They needed minds that could see patterns where others saw chaos, people who thrived on solving puzzles that seemed impossible to crack. The recruitment story begins with a man named Captain Stuart Milnerberry, a chess champion turned intelligence officer who had an unconventional idea. He observed that the same mental agility required to solve crossword puzzles might translate perfectly to code-breaking work. Think about it. Both require pattern recognition, lateral thinking, wordplay expertise, and the ability to hold multiple possibilities in your mind simultaneously while testing different combinations. But how do you secretly recruit puzzle enthusiasts without revealing the classified nature of your work? The answer was both brilliant and remarkably simple. Intelligence officers began approaching crossword champions and regular solvers through seemingly casual encounters. They might strike up a conversation at a crossword competition or approach someone who had written an impressive letter to a newspaper's puzzle editor. The initial approach was always subtle, often framed as an invitation to participate in some vague government clerical work. However, the real test came in the form of a seemingly innocent challenge. Potential recruits were given a crossword puzzle to solve, but this wasn't any ordinary puzzle. It was specifically designed to test the exact mental skills needed for code-breaking, the ability to think about words from multiple angles, to recognize that letters could represent something entirely different than their apparent meaning, and to persist through seemingly impossible combinations until a solution emerged. One of the most famous recruitment stories involves a young woman named Mavis Beatty, who would later become one of Bletchley Park's most successful codebreakers. She was initially approached through her local crossword club, where her reputation for solving the most difficult puzzles had caught attention. The recruitment process began with what seemed like an informal chat about her puzzle-solving techniques, but gradually evolved into a series of increasingly complex tests that evaluated not just her ability to solve puzzles, but her discretion, her ability to work under pressure, and her psychological suitability for highly classified work. The connection between crossword solving and code-breaking runs deeper than you might initially imagine. Every crossword clue requires a solver to think beyond the obvious meaning of words. A clue like flower that goes with a flow doesn't refer to a botanical specimen, but to a river that flows. This same type of lateral thinking was essential when trying to decrypt enemy messages where the apparent meaning was always a deception hiding the true information underneath. Code-breaking during World War II involved several different types of challenges, each requiring slightly different mental skills that crossword solvers had already developed. The famous Enigma machine, used by German forces, created codes by substituting each letter with a different letter according to complex mechanical rotors that changed the substitution pattern with each keystroke. Breaking these codes required understanding patterns in language, recognizing that certain letter combinations appeared more frequently in German than others, and being able to hold multiple hypotheses in mind while testing each one systematically. The crossword solvers brought another crucial skill to Bletchley Park. They were accustomed to making educated guesses and then verifying those guesses against the available evidence. In crossword solving, you might guess that a 7-letter word ending in ing and meaning to make unclear could be obscuring, then check whether the crossing letters support that hypothesis. Codebreaking works similarly, where analysts might hypothesize that a frequently appearing group of letters represented weather or attack, then test whether that assumption made sense in the context of other decoded portions of the message. But the recruitment of crossword enthusiasts wasn't limited to Britain. Intelligence services discovered that puzzle-solving minds were valuable regardless of nationality or background. In the United States, similar recruitment programs identified mathematicians, linguistic students, and yes, crossword champions who could contribute to breaking Japanese diplomatic codes and other enemy communications. The approach was often the same. Identify individuals through their puzzle-solving activities, test their abilities through increasingly complex challenges, and gradually introduce them to the real nature of the work. The daily routine at places like Bletchley Park revealed how crossword-solving skills translated directly to wartime intelligence work. Teams of codebreakers would work in shifts around the clock, each shift building on the progress made by the previous team. Just like solving a particularly difficult crossword might require putting it aside and returning with fresh eyes, codebreaking often involved collaborative efforts where one person's insight could unlock a breakthrough that had been eluding others. The psychological pressure was immense. Unlike a crossword puzzle in a newspaper, where failure simply meant waiting until tomorrow for a new challenge, the codes these former puzzle enthusiasts were breaking contained information that could save thousands of lives or reveal enemy plans that could change the course of major military operations. Every decoded message potentially contained intelligence about submarine positions, troop movements, or planned attacks. The weight of responsibility was enormous, yet the mental skills developed through years of recreational puzzle solving proved surprisingly well suited to handling this pressure. One particularly fascinating aspect of this story involves the security measures required to keep the code-breaking operation secret. Crossword enthusiasts were naturally curious people, accustomed to sharing interesting puzzles with friends and discussing solving strategies. Now they had to maintain absolute secrecy about work that was infinitely more engaging and challenging than any newspaper puzzle they had ever encountered. The recruitment process included extensive psychological evaluation to ensure that potential codebreakers could handle this isolation and secrecy. The impact of these crossword puzzle-trained minds on the war effort cannot be overstated. The intelligence gathered through successful code-breaking operations influenced major strategic decisions throughout the conflict. Information decoded by former crossword enthusiasts helped coordinate D-Day preparations, revealed German submarine positions that saved countless merchant ships, and provided advance warning of enemy attacks that allowed Allied forces to prepare appropriate defenses. Perhaps most remarkably, many of these codebreakers continued their work in complete anonymity for decades after the war ended. The official secrecy surrounding places like Bletchley Park wasn't lifted until the 1970s, meaning that crossword enthusiasts who had played crucial roles in winning World War II returned to their normal lives without ever being able to tell their families or friends about their extraordinary wartime contributions. They went back to solving newspaper crosswords as a hobby, knowing they had used similar skills to help save democracy itself. The recruitment methods developed during World War II influenced intelligence services for generations afterward. The recognition that puzzle-solving ability could indicate aptitude for intelligence work led to more sophisticated testing programs and helped intelligence agencies identify potential talent in unconventional places. Modern intelligence recruitment still looks for similar mental characteristics: pattern recognition, persistence in the face of seemingly impossible problems, ability to think creatively about multiple possibilities simultaneously, and the psychological resilience to work with incomplete information under intense pressure. This story also reveals something profound about human capability and the value of intellectual diversity. Military planners initially focused on recruiting traditional academics and mathematicians for code-breaking work. While these individuals certainly made important contributions, the discovery that crossword enthusiasts possessed equally valuable skills expanded the talent pool dramatically and brought fresh perspectives to the challenges of breaking enemy codes. The crossword connection also highlights how skills developed through seemingly recreational activities can have profound real-world applications. Every person working through their morning crossword puzzle was unknowingly training their brain in techniques that proved invaluable for one of the most important intellectual challenges of the 20th century. The mental habits of patience, persistence, pattern recognition, and creative thinking that made someone good at crossword puzzles translated directly to success in wartime intelligence work. Modern crossword puzzle design has actually been influenced by this wartime history. Contemporary puzzle constructors sometimes incorporate references to code breaking and intelligence work, creating a subtle tribute to the connection between recreational puzzles and serious intelligence analysis. Some crossword competitions now include special categories that explicitly test skills similar to those needed for code breaking, creating a bridge between hobby and historical significance. The technological aspect of World War II code breaking also required skills that crossword enthusiasts had developed intuitively. The mechanical calculating machines used to test possible code solutions required operators who could recognize patterns quickly and adjust their approach based on partial results. Crossword solvers were accustomed to this type of iterative problem solving, where each correctly placed letter provided clues for solving surrounding areas of the puzzle. The international scope of this recruitment phenomenon created an interesting network of puzzle enthusiasts who found themselves working on opposite sides of the same global conflict. German intelligence services also recognized the value of puzzle-solving minds, though their recruitment methods and organizational approaches differed significantly from the Allied programs. The universal nature of puzzle-solving ability meant that both sides were drawing from similar intellectual resources, creating a hidden war of minds that paralleled the more visible military conflict. The story of crossword codebreakers also illustrates the importance of unconventional thinking in times of crisis. Traditional military wisdom suggested that code breaking required advanced mathematical training or extensive linguistic education. While these skills were certainly valuable, the discovery that crossword puzzle expertise provided an equally valid foundation for intelligence work challenged assumptions about who could contribute to the war effort and how different types of intelligence could be applied to national security challenges. The psychological profiles of successful crossword-solving codebreakers revealed interesting patterns that influenced post-war intelligence recruitment. These individuals typically combined analytical thinking with creative problem-solving, showed persistence in the face of frustrating setbacks, worked well both independently and as part of collaborative teams, and maintained focus during long periods of detailed work. These characteristics became benchmarks for identifying potential intelligence analysts in subsequent decades. The secrecy surrounding wartime code-breaking operations also meant that many innovations and techniques developed by crossword-trained analysts remained classified long after they could have benefited civilian applications. Advances in pattern recognition, systematic problem-solving approaches, and collaborative analysis techniques that emerged from wartime intelligence work eventually influenced fields ranging from computer programming to medical diagnosis, but this knowledge transfer was delayed by decades due to security classifications. Today, the legacy of crossword codebreakers continues to influence both intelligence work and puzzle design. Modern intelligence agencies recognize that diverse cognitive approaches strengthen analysis, leading to recruitment programs that actively seek candidates with varied intellectual backgrounds rather than focusing exclusively on traditional academic qualifications. Similarly, contemporary crossword constructors sometimes design puzzles that incorporate elements inspired by code-breaking challenges, creating educational entertainment that subtly teaches problem-solving skills relevant to intelligence analysis. The human stories behind this remarkable wartime recruitment program reveal the extraordinary dedication of ordinary people who discovered their recreational hobby had profound strategic importance. These crossword enthusiasts worked under incredible pressure, maintained absolute secrecy for decades, and contributed to one of the most significant intelligence achievements in military history. Their success demonstrates that valuable capabilities can emerge from unexpected sources, and that the mental habits developed through recreational activities can sometimes prove crucial for addressing the most serious challenges facing society. The transformation of crossword puzzle enthusiasts into world-changing codebreakers represents one of the most fascinating examples of how intellectual diversity and unconventional thinking can influence historical outcomes. It reminds us that the skills we develop for entertainment and personal satisfaction may have applications we never imagined, and that in times of crisis, every type of mental capability can potentially contribute to solutions that shape the future of civilization itself.